In the heart of a bustling Melville city, there stood a grand institution of learning, Melville High, with vast echoing halls and classrooms filled with eager students. It was a place of knowledge, ambition, and most notably, noise. Melville students were smart, articulate, and always eager to share their opinions. Debates raged, discussions flowed, and the school was forever filled with the clamor of competing voices. But amidst the cacophony, there was a subtle emptiness, a missing ingredient that no one seemed to recognize. Emma, a bright sophomore, was one of the loudest voices. She prided herself on always having a reply, a counter-argument, a statement. But what Emma and her peers failed to realize was that in their rush to speak, they had forgotten the value of truly listening. One day, an announcement was made that a new teacher, Miss Grant, would be joining the school to teach philosophy and ethics. Her reputation was unusual. Students from her previous schools described her classes as transformative, but were often lost for words when asked to elaborate. Emma and her friends curiously attended the first class. They expected Miss Grant to be formidable, commanding presence. Instead, they found a soft-spoken, almost enigmatic woman. Her first lesson was not on famous philosophers or complex ethical conundrums, but simply on listening. To demonstrate, Miss Grant asked Emma to share a personal story. Eager to impress, Emma recounted a recent argument she had with her younger brother over privacy. As she spoke, Miss Grant simply listened, her gaze steady, her demeanor calm. Emma found herself delving deeper into the story, touching on feelings of insecurity, vulnerability, and the deep-seated fear of growing apart from her sibling. When she finished, the class waited for Miss Grant's response, expecting a profound statement or philosophical insight. Instead, Miss Grant simply said, "Thank you for sharing, Emma." Confused, Emma asked, "Aren't you going to give me advice or tell me what I shouldn't have done or should have done?" Miss Grant shook her head. Today's lesson isn't about advising. It's about understanding the power of truly listening. Did you feel heard, Emma? Emma nodded, her eyes moist. Yes, more than ever. Over the course of the year, Miss Grant introduced her students to the art of active listening. They engaged in exercises where they'd simply listen, without preparing a reply, without judging, without interrupting. It was challenging, especially for vocal students like Emma, but the transformation was palpable. Friendships deepened as students began to understand each other's perspectives. Classroom discussions became richer, with pauses filled not with awkwardness, but with contemplation. The echoing halls of Melville started resonating, not with noise, but with genuine communication. Emma realized that in truly listening to her peers, she not only understood them better, but also learned more about the world and herself. When she listened without the urge to respond, she found wisdom in unexpected places, from the shy student in the backbench to the janitor with the stories of the past. One day, a heated debate erupted in the school courtyard about a controversial policy change. Voices rose and tempers flared. But then, Emma, drawing from her lessons with Miss Grant, simply stopped and said, "Let's just listen for a moment." To the astonishment of the gathered crowd, She turned to a usually quiet student, Noah, and asked for his thoughts. Noah, taken aback, hesitated, but then spoke with passion and insight, offering a solution that was fair and well thought out. It was a perspective that no one had considered, simply because they had never truly listened to him before. News of this incident spread, and the Melville Miracle, as it was dubbed, became legendary. The school went from being a hub of noise to a beacon of meaningful communication, all thanks to the transformative power of listening. By the time graduation arrived, Melville had changed fundamentally. Emma, now known not for her loudness, but her ability to listen, spoke at the ceremony. We came to school thinking the world would value us for our knowledge, our eloquence, our ability to argue. But the true lesson, the most valuable of all, was understanding the power of silence, of pausing, of truly listening. Miss Grant, her mission accomplished, moved on to transform another institution, leaving behind a legacy of students who knew that while the world would always have speakers, what it truly needed was listeners. And so, in the echoing halls of Melville, amidst the laughter, discussions, and youthful energy, there was now a new sound, or rather a new silence. The profound silence of understanding, of empathy, and of true communication. Months passed since Miss Grant's transformative lessons on listening. Melville High, with its new ethos, began attracting attention. Parents and educators from neighboring cities visited, curious to see this listening revolution firsthand. Melville students, proud of their newfound skill, often demonstrated active listening in workshops and seminars. Emma had grown close to Miss Grant, frequently visiting her after school hours to delve deeper into the philosophy of silence and understanding. During one of these sessions, Miss Grant introduced Emma to an old saying: "In the silence between words, true understanding is found." Eager to understand this profound statement, Emma began an experiment. She set up a small booth in the school's central courtyard, titled the Listening Booth. The premise was simple. Anyone could come and share whatever was on their mind, and Emma or any other volunteer would simply listen. The booth became a surprising success. Students queued up, not to speak to a counselor or seek advice, but simply to be heard. They shared dreams, fears, love stories, heartbreaks, and sometimes just the mundane events of their day. One afternoon, a figure unfamiliar to most students approached the booth. It was Mr. Jacobs, the school's janitor. He was known mostly for his silent demeanor and his diligent late-night work, ensuring the school was clean and ready every morning. Emma welcomed him with a warm smile. "Hello, Mr. Jacobs. Would you like to share something today?" He hesitated at first, but the welcoming atmosphere of the booth and the genuine invitation in Emma's eyes encouraged him. Mr. Jacobs began talking about his younger days, about love, loss, and opportunities missed. He spoke of a time when he was an aspiring musician, about the joy music brought him, and the sorrow of leaving it behind due to life's challenges. As he spoke, the students gathered, not out of intrusiveness, but because of the profound melancholy and beauty in his tale. By the time he finished, Many had tears in their eyes, touched by a life story they had never thought to inquire about. Inspired by his story, a group of students, including Emma, decided to organize a talent night, specifically inviting the unsung heroes of Melville, the cafeteria workers, the janitors, the security staff. The event was named Echoes of Melville. The night of the event was magical. The school's auditorium was filled with a different kind of energy, an atmosphere of anticipation mixed with deep respect. Mr. Jacobs played the piano. The security guard recited poetry. The cafeteria lady sang a beautiful old song that left many misty-eyed. It was a night when the usually unheard voices of Melville took center stage. The event became a testament to the power of listening, of acknowledging and of recognizing that every individual, no matter their role, has a story worth listening to. As the academic year drew to a close, there was one more surprise in store. Miss Grant announced she'd be leaving Melville to embark on a worldwide journey, hoping to spread the message of listening. On her last day, the school organized a grand assembly. Emma stood up to speak. Miss Grant has taught us more than just subjects. She has opened our ears, our hearts, and our souls. She showed us that everyone has a story, a voice, and all it needs is an audience. Miss Grant, with her characteristic humility, simply said, "All of you have taught me as much as I have taught you. Remember, every person you meet knows something you don't. So listen. Always listen." And with that, she left, leaving behind a legacy that would resonate in Melville's halls for generations. Emma went on to college and then founded an organization dedicated to the art of listening. She organized workshops, talks, and events, ensuring that the message reached as many as possible. Years later, as a successful entrepreneur and motivational speaker, she was often asked about her success. Emma would smile and reply, "I simply learned to listen." So in the vast symphony of life, where everyone is eager to play their tune, it's often the silent pauses, the attentive listeners, that bring out the true beauty of the melody. For in truly hearing others, we find understanding, connection, and often the unheard harmonies of life. Every person carries a universe within them, stories untold, dreams unshared. When we choose to listen, we don't just hear words, we dive into that universe, understanding a life, perspective, a soul. So, in a world bustling with noise and haste, take a moment to pause, to lend your ear, and to truly listen. For it's not the loudest voices that need to be heard, but often the silent ones, waiting for someone to tune in. Always remember, to listen is to love, to understand, and to embrace the beautiful diversity of humanity. The transformative journey of Melville High, as chronicled in the narrative, offers profound insights into the often underestimated power of listening. It is a stark reminder of the interconnectedness of human experiences, and how, amidst the din of our own thoughts and voices, we often neglect the richness of perspectives around us. One of the most poignant moments in the narrative is the emergence of Mr. Jacobs from the shadows of Melville's echoing halls. For years he existed in the background, a mere part of the school's machinery. Yet within him lay a universe of memories, dreams, regrets, and aspirations. It brings to the fore a crucial question. How many Mr. Jacobses do we pass by in our lives every day? How many stories remain untold, simply because we never stop to listen? Melville's transformation wasn't due to a change in its infrastructure, curriculum, or management. It changed because its ethos changed. Active listening, as introduced and practiced, wasn't just a passive act. It was an active engagement, a bridge between the speaker and the listener. Emma's listening booth and the echoes of Melville event signified this bridge, showing that when we truly engage with another's story, we not only validate their experiences, but also enrich our own understanding. Listening is often mistaken for silence. However, as Miss Grant's lessons highlighted, it's an art, requiring presence of mind, empathy, and patience. This was evident when Emma shifted from being the loudest voice to one of the most attentive listeners. This transformation elucidates an important lesson for educators and parents alike. While we focus on teaching children to express, it's equally vital to teach them to listen. The narrative beautifully captures how a single act of listening can create ripples. Miss Grant's teachings didn't just stay within Melville, they touched the hearts of parents, educators from other institutions, and eventually, through Emma's endeavors, countless others around the world. It underscores a pivotal truth. When we cultivate virtues at the grassroots level, their potential to propagate is limitless. Now, let's also acknowledge the emotional landscape. One can't reflect on this tale without addressing the emotional depth it brings forth. The act of being heard is intricately tied to our emotional well-being. From students sharing mundane tales at the listening booth to Mr. Jacobs' heart-rending journey down memory lane, the narrative underscores the therapeutic value of an attentive ear. In the act of listening, we offer solace, understanding, and often healing. As Miss Grant moved on and Emma stepped into the world, the ethos of listening became their legacy. It's a testament to the lasting impact educators can have. More importantly, it serves as a reminder that the lessons that truly touch hearts, that leave indelible marks, are those that go beyond textbooks. They address the very core of human existence.